Guilty of genocide! Ethiopia is guilty of genocide! Ethiopia is guilty of genocide! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Tigray! Free Tigray! Free Tigray! Free Tigray! Free Turtle Island! Free Turtle Island! Free Turtle Island! Free Turtle Island! Hashtag Tigray genocide! Hashtag Tigray genocide! Hashtag Tigray genocide! Hashtag Tigray genocide! Ethiopia is guilty of 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 genocide! The people united will never be defeated! Will never be defeated! The people united will never be defeated! The people united will never be defeated! The people united will never be defeated! United will never be defeated! The people united will never be defeated! The people united will never be defeated! From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Occupation is a crime. Tigray to Palestine. Occupation is a crime. Occupation is a crime. From Tigray to Palestine. From Tigray to Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Tigray. Free, free Tigray. The people united will never be defeated. 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 What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Ceremony.
Yeah. Nice to have you.
Hi, I'm from Palestine. I have a lot of friends from Tigray and like Oromia.
I'd like
Like,
to anything to the Tigray people because we are like, they're watching from all over the
yeah.
refugee and all that stuff. Do you want to say something? Anything you want to say?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
I just want to say our struggle is all the same. We all come in the same oppressors
Thank
in
you.
different forms, and that we all need to stick together no matter what and not play the oppression Olympics games. Because one day we're all gonna, like, the liberation is gonna like be a domino effect, and we're all gonna start being free.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks so
Free
much.
Tigray.
Yeah, yeah. Can you say it again?
Free Tigray.
Thank you.
Just an FYI. Yeah, I know that. I don't think we're supposed to like film the ceremony when it starts.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Right.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
thank
Yeah, they told us to. Like,
Yeah,
we're-
thank you.
Cool.
I got that.
It's nice to meet you.
Yes,
My name is Abdullah, by the way.
Dale.
Yeah. Nice to meet you. Alaikum salam.
Yeah. Thank you, sister. They are from four directions.
Okay.
Project agreed not to do.
Okay, I'm going to have the dancers, Dancer Louisville. First lesson is about 8 minutes away. Waiting on them to come up.
bridge we came under, I guess.
Go to Boston, pick up papers, and do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I'll have a meeting or
But
two.
that's it. All respective sensors back to your direction. South here, around the corner. That corner.
You done? You tired?
No, you want me to hold on to
Yeah, you can hold it until Barry dies. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm having fun.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, are you guys leaving?
No, we're going to Buffalo.
Oh, okay, I'll be there.
No, our little one's giving us a little boost.
Oh, they're still waiting for directions.
Jennifer, officer. My sister too.
Danielle, Ashley, Danielle. Come to the voice. Come to the light.
I have some little like rice roll snacks, like little rice rolls. You know? I have some of those.
Thank you, but I'll wait a minute.
So what's up?
I put it on pause. I couldn't see anything because it was so
Oh
dark.
yeah, it's dark. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's very dark.
Thank you so much.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Yeah.
I got some really good stuff over there.
You done?
Nice.
You no ganano?
I think they're done.
They done? No,
I
they
think
say
so.
somebody.
But they're waiting for something. But the ceremony is done.
So
done.
for
Yeah.
Arab holiday?
Yeah.
Nam hid no?
I don't think so. I'm not leaving.
Okay.
Yeah. But, no, I don't think I don't think they're done. But
Yeah, they say they have one more to come,
yeah.
and they're gonna speak.
Yeah, but they're still waiting. Yeah.
Sally's gonna do a poem. Melissa's gonna do a speech. And then, I'm pretty sure everybody's gonna have to do a speech. Do you want me to give you a Uber? No, you don't. I gave you never, yeah, you're never gonna get there. I can get you a
Can I get that?
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna put it away. Yeah, what's up? What you doing, boss? Oh yeah, we are down. Hold on, Susie. Talk to what's his name? April.
Hello? Hey, get it. Come here, Doctor. I'm here. I'm gonna send you the address.
We're live for the events here, and it's really dark downtown Denver.
Speeches, we did a march, protest. Yeah, but we're in the park right now. You're far, I would have
Huh? Ya, ni lagi nak pergi. Bukan ni ada pergi. Dia nak pergi. Jangan pernah balik. Ini saja. What saja? Ya. Ya, not yet. Then,
I told him don't talk. By the time you get to
by the time it's going to be too late. Yeah. So we are live downtown Denver. There's a Palestinian group. There's a Tagaru. There's Indians from America.
So when they get here, we're going to let them stage, we're going to give them a few minutes, and then we, like our group, we're going to move up just a little bit so everybody can see a little bit better. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh. Okay. That's west. Yeah, we should go over there. Yeah, let's it up.
They are coming from four direction.
That's it! Sky Roosevelt Morris on set. Good evening, relatives. We finally have the four directions, and we're gonna bring the spiritual people, the drums, and the chanupas together. Only those things come into the circle. Everybody else, we ask that you respectfully stay around us. This is about to be a ceremony, so we have our drums, our singers, our spiritual people, and our chanupas. We're gonna have them come to the center. So please be respectful. Please no filming. Do not film this ceremony. Some ceremonies are meant for the present and meant for the people here. It's not meant for Facebook. So please be respectful and do not record this ceremony. Thank you very much, Ashok.
Put some flags over there so we can see that the guard, like anybody has it by the side. Yeah, like the people coming here. See, everybody having their flags. No, that's not. That's like a register. Oh, there. Okay. Cool.
Which take?
Good. We're still here. Yeah, they're still there. They're about to finish the turning of the ceremony, and then they're about to go to. Yeah, it's live. It's on Facebook, so you can look at it. Yeah. All right. All right, buddy. See you. Yes, yes, sir. Thank you. So they have a celebration, so we have to um, respect their privacy because during this prayer time they don't want recording because due to respect of the spiritual. So we're gonna be on distance, far away from them, and we'll be we'll honor their respect. So this is
Yeah. We can stay with you. Stay circle, yeah? Okay.
They're gonna stay. We're gonna be here for a while, so let me turn it on.
Dagatet relatives, again, my name is Sky Roosevelt Morris. I come from the White Mountain Apache Nation and the Shawnee Nation. I'm a member of the American Indian Movement of Colorado and a member of this indigenous community, and it's a good day to be indigenous. And before we begin, I just really, I want to thank everybody who came out, everybody who made this night possible. You know, you put out a call and you're never sure who's going to answer that call or what the state of our community is. There's a lot of sickness going on, both with COVID, but also spiritually. We have a lot of spiritual sickness in our communities, but we're fighting that when we come out together and stand in unison like this. So thank you very much to everybody who answered this call this evening. And I would like to begin by asking my Uncle Rick here to come and open up and call our ancestors in to be with us this evening. So without further ado, Uncle Rick, if you would mind saying some words, thank you.
Oh, Midako Yapi. I'm just going to say a little quick prayer for all our relatives and our ancestors. Midako Yasi. I just said, it's a good day. Good day. I said earlier that this is our land. We want our land back. I'm not going to say much more, but what I want everybody to remember is the reason that we're here is because our relatives, all our relatives, from all directions, all colors of people, never gave up. Never give up!
Thank you very much, Uncle Rick. And I know everybody's tired. I know it's been a long day. I know it's cold out. And, you know, our ancestors endured a lot. They've endured a lot colder and a lot longer nights and a lot harder nights. So it's good to be in community with everybody. So warm yourselves up because we got a good program this evening. And we're going to have a few speakers. And I really want to thank the West Direction. You all came in really powerful. The Don Santes, Uncle Carlos, Auntie Donna. So all the Don Santes who came out, thank you very much for that prayer. It was really powerful. Thank you very much. So I'd like to ask, is Rudy Gonzalez in the house? Is Rudy Gonzalez in the house? And while Rudy Gonzalez is making his way up here, is he not here? Okay, cool. And before my sister Jenny gets on the palabra, I just want to say that I talked to Auntie Nita Gonzalez, and as Uncle Rick was saying, this work doesn't happen overnight. This was 30 years of struggle. 30 years of struggle. And we finally abolished Columbus in the first place last year. And this is the first time we've come together since then, since the death of Columbus Day in the state of Colorado. And none of that would have been possible without people like Nita Gonzalez, people like Corky Gonzalez, people like Rudy Gonzalez, people like Geraldine Gonzalez, the Gonzalez family, and the whole Chicano community. We couldn't have done it without the Chicano community. And so our Auntie Nita, she couldn't be here this evening because she got COVID. And so I ask that when you guys say your prayers, say a prayer for Auntie Nita this evening because she's fighting hard against this COVID. And so she wanted to be here and she called me and she just wanted me to convey that to everybody this evening, that even though she couldn't be with us here physically, she's here with us spiritually. And I really want to commend her because it was the Red Earth Women's Alliance back in 2001 that started this Four Directions March. And without people like Troylyn Yellowwood, people like Nita Gonzalez, people like Gail Bundy, people like Jolene Woodcock, people like Gracie Redshirt Tyon, we wouldn't have a Four Directions March. And that was the vision largely of women and the help of our brothers, our men relatives. And so it's always about balance. We have everything in balance. balance. And so, without further ado, I'm going to hand this palabra over to my sister Jenny Santos. And before I move on, my uncle just reminded me that none of this would have been possible without Representative Adrian Benavides. She fought diligently in the legislature. I really want to thank Adrian because she takes a lot of difficult bills and she fights a good fight for our people. And she's never sold our people out while she represents us. And so I thought, not too many people can say that. They go into those positions of power and then they forget where they come from and who they are. But I've never been able to say that about Adrian Benavides. She has never forgotten where she comes from, and she never forgets our community. So thank you very much, Adrian Benavides. Thank you for your diligence in your work. Good evening, buenas noches. Today is a beautiful day to be a native on this land. All the struggles that they endured so that our young people, our children can be here today. But we must never forget the story. We must never forget the struggle and forget to share that story with our young people so that they don't know a new narrative, but the real narrative, the truth, that we take a stand for them. We take a stand because our ancestors endured what they did. I'm here to represent the palabra of Rudy Gonzalez with Servicios de la Raza. And you want to say thank you very much to all those that helped with the voices. Por Dios de los muertos, por la Rosa, to join us during that very was a common effort for the altars to keep this legacy of our ancestors on these lands. I wanted to say that much and thank you for all the relatives that carried the palabra, with Grupo Tlaloc, the Capitan Carlos, Chief Tomas Lopez, Kenny from the Youth Nation. I wanted to say thank you also to the mujeres that carried the fuego. Okay. And the voice this year, we usually have a theme for each direction when we do this, these marches. And so this year the West took the big responsibility of honoring the late Rita Martinez, who was fundamental in this struggle and this fight. The fight isn't over in Pueblo. They still have a racist statue down in Pueblo, Colorado that needs to come down. And we need to support them in their efforts to take that racist statue down. Because Columbus was born in Pueblo, Colorado in 1905. And it still needs to die down in Pueblo, Colorado. And we need to help our relatives. And so who better to speak to the legacy and the life of Rita Martinez and her son? So I'm going to call Sente. If you're in the crowd, I need you to come up here and share some words for us about what our responsibility is to you, your family, your mom's legacy going forward, and how we can be good relatives to all of our community down in Pueblo who came out. To all the people in Pueblo who caravanned up here, thank you very much for that long drive you took to come up here and be with us. Anybody seen Sente? Oh, he went to the all right.
Gente went to get the van, so I'm going to say a few words. Pueblo in the house! Aquí estamos. We're here in gratitude that you've honored Rita today and that you're showing up to honor our comadre. Rita Martinez, presente! Rita showed up consistently for 30 years to protest the honoring of Columbus. It's true that 2 years ago that bill was signed into law which effectively abolished Columbus Day, and Representative Adrian Benavides championed that legislation. And I remember when Adrian texted Rita to say it passed both chambers, and Rita said, call me back when it's signed by the governor, because she didn't trust. She had reason not to trust. And so she didn't let any of us congratulate one another or celebrate until it was actually signed into law. That was a lesson that she taught us. She taught us many lessons. The The most important being that our issue was bigger than the holiday, bigger than the statue that continues to be honored and protected by the city of Pueblo and Mayor Nick Gradishar. It has been our means of organizing around issues like police brutality, environmental and racial justice, indigenous sovereignty, gender violence. Rita was named a corn mother in the years before her death. And it was when COVID struck that she turned to those of us who worked closely with her and said, if I get COVID, I won't survive. And she didn't. But before she passed, she wrote some really important words that I want to share with you today. In Rita's words, my organizing is rooted in relationships, forming new relationships and actively maintaining long held relationships. I remember visiting with Cesar Chavez in the 80s, and as we sat around the kitchen table, we talked about organizing among people who were the most poor and marginalized. We talked about how important it is to ask people to contribute to their own liberation, whether it's time, money, or other resources. I learned this over time, and today I have no problem asking people to donate, come to a meeting, or volunteer for an event. People want to participate and belong and give to their community, but sometimes they're not invited or no opportunity is provided. As an organizer, I help the community reflect on, amass, and flex their power. People sometimes seek to give personal recognition to me for my leadership, but I am nothing without the power of community. I spent my early years leading from behind. I was a support person and never front and center. Back in the day, the movement had mostly male spokespeople, but they did not alone provide central leadership. The core leadership was highly collaborative and drew on the models of our ancestors, women and men working as a team to support the work of the community. Only out of necessity have I occasionally ended up in front of the microphone or giving a speech, because leading from behind is where I'm most comfortable. It is our collective knowledge and passion that move us forward. We are sustained by one another to continue the fight, and continue the fight you will. Rita Martinez, presente! Rita passed away 10 months ago, and our prayers continue for her children, Tomas, Vicente, and Neva. We know that to continue to honor Rita's legacy is also to continue to acknowledge the open wound of their grief. But today, we flex our collective power. And in this moment, we can use some of that power to ensure Rita and others become a permanent part of our public history in as many ways possible. Presente!
Thank you very much, Teresa. Teresa, she's Rita's best friend, so don't let her fool you. She knows Rita better than many people do. And Teresa, in her own right, is a fierce woman. I've been down in the streets with her in Pueblo, and she makes the cops down there terrified. So I really love Teresa. Thank you very much for sharing those good words with us. Now we're going to go to the north direction. And a lot of people don't know. I got a lot of questions when I started putting out the flyers, because a lot of people in our own community didn't know what Tigray was, or who Tigrayans are, where they come from, where their homeland is. A lot of our own people here on Turtle Island, we don't know. We don't do our homework very well. We don't know indigenous peoples outside of Turtle Island. And so that's my challenge to all of you indigenous peoples from Turtle Island, to start learning other indigenous nations and peoples and their struggles globally, because there are millions of us out there, millions of us fighting against uranium mining, fighting against pipelines, fighting against stealing our children, fighting against missing and murdered indigenous women, fighting for our land back. And so our relatives from Tigray have done us the honor this evening of carrying that direction for us. And red is the sacred color to them, as I've found out. And so without further ado, I would really like if you all give a warm round of applause and welcome to our relatives. These are our relatives. They're not guests, these are our relatives. Melete, if you could come up here and share some words with us, we would be honored.
Sister Sky, thank you so much. Thank you. And Brother Glenn
and to the entire Indigenous community, thank you for having us today. I have to tell you, our Tigrayan mothers who are here today and have walked with us and they're standing here and watching have been really amazed at the similarities in our communities. For instance, when you started lighting the incense and it started to smell like home, and we're looking around wondering, how does it smell like home? And then the drums, and it started to sound like home. And then we heard the and we said, how do they know how to do that? Because that's what we do. My name is Meliti Berhana Mescal. I am an ethnic Tigrayan from the northernmost part of Ethiopia. Today, you've done us a great honor in sharing your day, making room for us, lending your ear and your voice and your stage and your platform to stand up for Tigrayans, an indigenous ethnic group that's currently being annihilated by the Ethiopian government. As we speak right now, the Ethiopian government is carpet bombing Tigray. There is no food in the region. The prime minister, the unelected prime minister, will not allow any type of aid to enter. And that's after his soldiers, coupled with Eritrean soldiers, burned all of our farmlands. The Tigrayans are farmers. We live off of the land, and they burned the farmlands. So our people are suffering. Just to tell you a little bit about Tigrayans, we can trace our history back to at least 8 BCE. We are an ancient people, and that's just what we know because of some artifacts that we've been able to see. We have obelisks and stones and coins and various things that tell a little bit about our history, and we're an ancient people. But we're being annihilated in the dark because there are no phones, there's no electricity, there's no running water, there's no medicine, there are no hospitals. Everything's been looted, and the Ethiopian government is bombing our people and killing them in the dark. So that you've given us a platform here is very, 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 very powerful. That indigenous people can join hands like this is the scariest thing to a colonizer. The scariest, whether that colonizer looks like, one from here, from this country, or one that looks more like me. Because there is a colonization that's happening in Tigray. What they did was start with our women. If you want to destroy a society, what do? You target the women. They gang raped and abused Tigrayan women. And children, for that matter. The youngest rape victim is 4 years old. This is happening right now in Tigray. They tell us it's a political issue. They call us terrorists. The world keeps calling this a humanitarian crisis, but it's a genocide. It's a genocide what's happening in Tigray. And so I told you we share a lot in common earlier, some of the cultural things that you've shown us today, but we also share that horrible, horrible issue of genocide. But we're fed up. Indigenous people are joining hands, and this is how we'll break that evil. This is how we'll do it. So we thank you. Sister Sky said something earlier about how we want a world where everyone fits, where we fit, where indigenous people fit in, where Palestinian people fit, where Tigrayans fit. And that's what we're going to create. So plan to see more actions with all of us together. Join hands. This is just the beginning of a very powerful, powerful alliance among indigenous people. Thank you for sharing your platform. My brother here. My brother, Dawit Young Mesmore, is going to share a piece that he wrote about Tigray. So thank you for listening.
Thank you guys once again for having us out here. Beautiful to bond with you guys. Amazing. And this is a piece that I wrote for the Tigray genocide. No GPSs for these routes. Got to get back to the essence. Got to get back to the truth. I'm not stressing over being in the back of a black coupe. Prefer the blessing of a welcome mat where I can hang my hat too. I don't know about you, but home feeling like it's going under now. They tried to bury us, but the roots stay underground. We use the religion and wisdom to spring up out of the system that's on a mission to see our downfall. But we need the rain for living. From the elders to the children, the lineage pass it down. We want independence and we ain't asking now. Thank you guys. Also, this Thursday we are having a protest of our own. at 10 a.m. at Zeckendorf Plaza Park. We would love for you guys to come out and join us. Thank you guys so much for having us. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you.
Dagote, good evening, everybody. My name is Mateo Parsons. I'm with Four Winds American Indian Council and the American Indian Movement of Colorado. I'm co-emceeing this evening with my sister Sky, so this is my first introduction to you. I want to thank our relatives from Tigray for sharing some words with us this evening and inviting all of you to join them in their struggle. Please follow their pages, look them up, and we need a good showing of support for our relatives, because that's what this event is about. That's what this ceremony is about. It's about joining hands. It's about joining in unity, and it's about international and inter-community solidarity. That's why we're here. So please support them. I also want to, as I transition, we're going to be welcoming our relatives from Palestine. Now, when the American Indian Movement started the International Indigenous Treaty Council, they opened an office in New York City. And it was the Palestinian Liberation Organization that were the only ones that supported the American Indian Movement. They were the only ones that supported indigenous peoples on this side of the hemisphere. And so it's really an honor that we have our Palestinian relatives here. And I want to welcome Abdullah, and I think there's also a poet that they're going to be sharing with us as well. So. Hey guys, can you all hear me out there? Yeah. How are we feeling, guys? Yeah. All right, my name is Abdullah, and I'm from Gaza. Before I get started, the first thing I want to do is extend my gratitude to the Native community for allowing us to be guests on their land and in their struggle. Remember, if you are not Native, you are a guest here at best. Do not forget that. It is a true honor to walk among you and share in this incredible tradition. I think it's so important to have events like this and nights like these where we share our ideas and our struggles. And although the struggles of colonized people around the world might look a little bit different from one another, there is one common factor across them all, and that is the land itself. This fight is nothing if not for the land that we stand on and that our ancestors stood on and that many future generations will stand on as well. One thing that gets me is when I hear the phrase land back, and people say land back like it's just a thing to say or like it's just a metaphor, but it's not. Land back means land back. It doesn't mean housing permits, it doesn't mean tax breaks, it doesn't mean memorials. It means give us that shit back. You know, these days you hear a lot about like environmentalism and green initiatives and stuff. And I think that is very important because the earth is in a very dire situation right now. But I actually believe land back to be an environmental issue. You know, when these colonizers came to our lands, they didn't just brutalize our people. They brutalized the land. They have no love. They have no respect for the land. To them, the land is just another wild, savage thing for them to tame. To them, there's no concept of a symbiotic relationship. It's just take and take and take. That is the colonizer mentality. Invasive species! That's right. In Palestine, the Israeli occupiers so often and so proudly say that they made the desert bloom. Never mind the beautiful orange groves of Jaffa. Never mind the fact that Palestine was a major exporter of things like wheat, barley, sesame, olive oil. Or the fact that for centuries, that land had been written about in texts the world over as one of the most fertile parts of a place that was literally called the Fertile Crescent. No, never mind all that. I personally take offense to it because my grandfather was a farmer in Palestine, and it was something that he was so proud of. And it makes my blood boil to see them try to erase my family's history, when in fact they had no idea what they were doing when it came to cultivating the lands that they stole. They showed up with heavy, bulky machines and thought this made them benevolent beings, bringing their technology to an uncivilized people, when in fact their Eurocentric farming practices were ineffective when used in Palestine. And it was only when they begrudgingly used the techniques that they learned from Palestinian farmers that they finally were able to till the land. So no, they didn't make the desert bloom. As a matter of fact, they did quite the opposite. Just like how they uprooted generations of families and replaced them with European people, they also uprooted generations of plants and replaced them with European plants. And we're just now starting to see the effects of that. This summer there were massive wildfires around Palestine, and they were caused by the European pines that were planted there by the European colonizers. So this is the earth fighting back against them and letting them know that they do not belong here. This idea of using environmentalism to distract from evil practices is something that America does too here. And it's something that's been dubbed greenwashing. And it's a cornerstone of Israeli propaganda. For example, the Israeli military boasts about how it provides some of its soldiers with uniforms that are free of animal products. So it's like they're blowing up hospitals and they're murdering children, but it's cool because they got vegan boots on. Can't wrap my head around it, man. Now, all these examples that I gave, there are so many parallels that we can draw here to Turtle Island. Europeans showing up with their practices and technology that they thought were superior, only to end up starving without the help of the indigenous population. Destroying the land and wiping out everything on it, such as the endless herd of buffalo with their insatiable appetite for theft and destruction. Which, by the way, that was a deliberate effort by the U.S. Army. So when you see that picture with all those buffalo skulls and whatever they tell us in the textbooks, like some cowboys got carried away. No, that was directed colonial violence designed to starve the indigenous population. Folks, our struggles are much more similar than they are different. And it's past time that we realize that. I really do love nights like these where I see so many different people from so many different places coming together to share not just a mutual respect, but a mutual love for each other. Spaces like these truly make me believe that liberation is attainable. Not just attainable, but attainable in our lifetimes. I'm going to wrap up here, I promise. I'm going to go back to what I opened with. If there's anything that I want you all to take away tonight, it is the idea of land back. It is not just a saying. Land back is an ideology. Land back is a way of life. Land back is a responsibility. Land back is a demand. This is something that we should carry into our lives in everything that we do. Decolonize your language. Decolonize your lives. Decolonize your mind. Don't just let this be a thing that you do when you see a Facebook event. Carry this into your lives. Let this be your philosophy. And land back means land back everywhere. Here on Turtle Island, up north in Canada, in Australia, in South Africa, in Tigray, and in Palestine. Land back! Again, I just want to thank our Native relatives. Thank you all so much for inviting us into your space. We really are nothing without you. And we stand on your shoulders in our struggle. So free Turtle Island, free Tigray, and free Palestine. And then we do have a poet from our community. She's going to come and share a piece with you guys. Give it up for Leanne, everybody.
Hi, my name is Lyndon Eswed, and I am a Palestinian that is 10 years old. This is my poem. I remember a land that was beautiful, a land that people valued, a land that was worth millions, a land where Al-Aqsa stood like glorious gold in the sky, a land where olive trees have grown for millions of years, a land that taught peace. But the trauma of the bombs, the soil soaked with blood, rivers filled with tears. If only my homeland returned to a beautiful place. If only my homeland returned to Palestine. Free, free Palestine.
thank you again to our Palestinian relatives. And can everybody just repeat after me? Land back! 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 Thank you all. So that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. We're building relationships. We're building confederations. We're building bridges. And that has to extend far beyond tonight. We have to show up for each other. And we have to show out for each other. And we have to take each other by the hand in each of our struggles and support each other as we fight for our liberation, as we fight for our freedom, as we fight for our land back. So I really, really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, my Palestinian relatives and our Tigrayan relatives. And next up, we're going to go to the South Direction representing the Native community here in Denver. And the South Direction this evening was marching in remembrance of all the children that were stolen from us in the boarding schools, or as we like to call them, the genocide schools. And so this evening we're going to welcome Teresa, who's going to share some spoken word with us. We're also going to welcome Glenn T. Morris, who's going to share some of his words with us as well. So everybody give it up for our speakers from the South Direction.
Hello, my name is Teresa Williams, and I come from the Lakota, Dakota, Northern Cheyenne, and Ojibwe tribes. I'm here representing the children that had to endure the genocide schools. The trauma still lives today. I have a poem for the Indigenous youth specifically. It's called Rebel. Dear Indigenous youth, I know the anger that lives inside you, the pain, the sorrow, the grief, the longing, the trauma, all stored inside unnamed boxes, lined up along a spiral staircase that we have yet to unpack. Because let's face it, there are billions of staircases inside me that withhold information that have been passed down from generation to generation, like family heirlooms. But instead of your grandma's old jewelry, or your grandpa's old car, or your family's mansion built in the 1800s that's been renovated to have a pool, a pond, and a butler, it's more like having your children ripped away from you. It's more like having your culture intentionally stripped from you. It's trying to survive starvation during the winter because our food source has been killed off. It's trying to survive a pandemic placed on you in the form of blankets. It's seeing your grandmother get shot by the man with hollow eyes for practicing traditional ways. You're only 5. It's running for your life faster than bullet speed. It's running towards the trees for protection. It's living to tell the stories. The family heirlooms in these boxes are hard to look through. But the more boxes you open on the infinite amount of spiral staircases, the more boxes you find filled with stories of resiliency, strength, connection, traditions, knowledge, happiness, community, laughter, and love. And you are the genetic makeup of all the boxes of memories and knowledge your family has passed down to you. I know it's easy to let your anger take control, but this is a revolution, and I need you to rebel in the ways that help our evolution. Rebel by loving yourself because they taught you not to. Rebel by speaking your native tongue because they punished you for it. Rebel by using your medicine because they fear that power. Rebel by occupying this land because they forced you off of it. Rebel by healing generational trauma and cycles because they never wanted you to. Rebel by raising your children to love everyone because they never did. Rebel by making your voice heard because they silenced you too many times. Our rebellion doesn't have to be in their terms. We don't have to act the way that they want us to, the way that we've been conditioned to for years. The anger from the pain caused could very well turn us into merciless Indian savages. But that's not us. We weren't born to act through hate and remorse. We were born to remind others that we are all children of the earth. It's time again to treat her like our mother and take care of her. We were born to remind ourselves and others to love without limit, because that's the most powerful thing you can do in this life. Why do you think you were taught to hate yourself? Because to them, one of the most dangerous things you can do is to love yourself, love others, and love the earth. Always remember who you came from, where you came from, and what you came from. With love, with much love, T.
I can't follow that. Bujanka tapi ner kana tapa wishi manu tu wishi katu lekushi no. Wanishi. Ask our ancestors to come and stand with us, to be with us.
Sorry, thank you.
Speak into our ears. You know those people over in those buildings, they probably think this is pretty stupid to have a march and a rally in the dark of night. Nobody can see us, no television cameras here. All you live streamers. We didn't do it for them. We didn't do it for that. I want you to remember the feeling, especially those from the south. Remember when we came across 15th Street, we came down that ramp, and we came along the river, and it got really cool. And you could feel the river embrace us. That's why we do it. This is our homeland. It will always be our homeland. It will always love us. And we must love it back. And when we came along the river, and the river embraced us, and the moon embraced us, and the stars embraced us, we didn't need television cameras. We didn't need their acceptance. We don't need their recognition. You know, I was getting a little discouraged until I heard my niece here. Getting a little discouraged, wondering where the next generation is. I'm really glad to see. I don't need this. I was really glad to see everybody here. Made my heart really strong. Because my niece Sky and a few of her friends, they decided to organize this relatively recently. As she said, we've been doing this for 30 years. Started in 1988. About 50 of us at the state capitol, calling for the abolition of Columbus Day in its birthplace here in Denver, Colorado. The American Indian Movement says, we can't kill that racist holiday in its birthplace. There's something wrong with us. And it shows you how much they'll hold on to the racist legacy of this place. Listening to my brother Abdullah talking about Palestine.
You know, manifest destiny and Zionism, they're two sides of the same coin. That they have a God that says that they could take somebody else's homeland. They call it the doctrine of Christian discovery here. And the Supreme Court embraced it and stole 2 billion acres of our territory. My dear friend Gracie Redshirt Khan and I, we were on a Zoom call today about restorative justice. That's the latest thing of these guys. Restorative justice, my ass. Restorative justice. This is my test about restorative justice. Whenever you hear a non-native person talk about restorative justice, you ask them this. The Supreme Court in 1823 in Johnson versus McIntosh said the doctrine of Christian discovery gave the invaders. They're not settlers. They're not pioneers. They're not visitors. They're invaders. They invaded our homeland. Those license plates that talk about pioneers this, they're not pioneers. They invaded this land. They're occupiers of this land. Every one of those people in those buildings. They don't get a pass. They talk about restorative justice. This is the test you ask them. If they're on the Supreme Court and they can reverse Johnson versus McIntosh, that stole our entire homeland from us. And they made it up. Would they reverse it? Would they reverse it if it meant they had to give up their home or their grandparents had to give up their home? Because ours did. Ours did. And if they're not willing to do that, then they don't want to restore anything. It's the same thing with reconciliation. Truth and reconciliation. Reconciliation. First of all, in order to have reconciliation, there must be conciliation. There's never been conciliation. They've never honored the treaties. Not one of them. And then they make holidays through their lies, through their theft. And they excuse themselves for being in the homeland of other people. And that's why we said Columbus Day has to go. Not because we wanted Indigenous Peoples Day. The American Indian Movement of Colorado never wanted Indigenous Peoples Day. We don't want their day. We don't want their stinking day. We want them to honor the treaties. Yeah. 27 million acres of northeastern Colorado they stole from the Cheyennes and Arapahoes. 27 million acres. Give it back. And I was really glad to see you all. I mean, you know, I know that we can get really angry. But when we're walking with those chanukas, when we're walking with our sacred elements, the sweetgrass and the cedar and the sage and the copal and these drums, we know that those buildings won't endure. The land will endure. The land will endure. And I apologize in advance. Sometimes I say as I get older, my heart gets closer to my throat, and sometimes it chokes me up. There were a whole lot of people whose shoulders we're standing on tonight. We wouldn't be here without them. And I want to name them. I want to mention them. And I know in some of our traditions, indigenous traditions, people don't do that. And what our sister Teresa from Pueblo said about Rita, that tradition of Latin American revolutionaries, you know. And calling presente when we hear the names of people of God on, but who are still here with us. I love that tradition. So I want to remember my brother Russell Means. And for those young people who don't know the names of the people I'm mentioning, you need to use your computer and your phone for something other than Facebook. Russell Means is the founder of the American Indian movement. And without him, none of us would be standing here right now. Because he led the American Indian movement, and he led this struggle against Columbus Day. My sister Charlene Yellowwood. Yankee Bad Hand. Eagle staff for us for years and years and years. When we went to jail, when we went on trial, we're saying that we're not going to stand for this racism in our homeland anymore. Yankee was with us. And matriarch Carrie Dan, who came from the Western Shoshone Nation, one of the strongest women I've ever known in my life, fighting for the Treaty of Ruby Valley, Nevada. And young people, this is why you have to keep going. We're not going to be here someday. Carrie just passed last year. But with every day she got up and fought against injustice of the invader United States in the Western Shoshone Territory. And since she gone, the two largest gold mining corporations in the world have surrounded her home at Crescent Valley in Nevada. And they're going to carry it away so that people can wear gold rings and gold necklaces in this invader society. And Carrie Dan marched with us. She knew her struggle was our struggle and our struggle was her struggle. And it was. And I remember her. And Robert Buckskin came every year. And Iowa Roy from the Meskwaki Nation. Aunt Norma Williams every year. Margaret Redshirt Tyon. Lily Fobb. Ida Logan Bear. Ohino Chuckby Peters. Those little girls. I want to say something really fast. I don't say anything. Those little girls. Sage, right here. Those little girls who helped us today. Who carried those chanupas for us. Yeah. That's what we always said. We bring those little girls to humble us. To remember that our ancestors are with us. Yeah. And it wasn't big, tough AIM guys who led us every single year. When we went to jail, big, tough, macho AIM guys, these little girls with the chalupas who led us. To remind us of the power of our sacred way. And Ohio, she was the very first little girl, way back in 1989. I miss her every day. Black Horse foster her. brother, Corky and Geraldine Gonzalez. Brenda Jacobs and my brother George Ward. Gerald Henry. The list goes on. But without those people, none of us would be standing here right now. They gave their lives for this movement. And these can't be hollow words. I'm going to wrap up with this. This can't be an event, a one-off. We have to make the commitment to each other right now. With the person standing next to you. That this movement will continue beyond this night. We have a center at 5th and Bannock. Four Winds American Indian Council. I want my priests to come together. Poetry workshop there. I want these young people who have these skills to make liberation videos. This isn't simply about land back. It is about that. It's about our self-determination. And I don't mean the self-determination that the U.S. government talks about. They throw you crumbs. As the native people of this land, and this is what the American Indian movement always said, we have the right to be free. We are not Americans. America invaded our home. And we have the right to decide. If people want to be Americans, that's fine. That's up to them. But America is never going to respect us. Ever. And so we have the right, in our own homeland, to control our own territory and make our own political decisions without external interference. And that doesn't mean accepting the crumbs with piddly-ass jobs in their system. Or positions like Deb Haaland. I like Deb Haaland, the Secretary of Interior. But you think they're gonna allow her to return the Gestapo, the Black Hills, to the Lakota Nation? You're out of your mind. They're never going to do that. They're never going to allow those treaties to be respected. And so we have the right to be free in our own home. Anything short of that is accepting our position as prisoners of war by an occupying power. And we must always struggle to be free. And I was looking at a quote from the great Papa leader, the Tatanka Yotaka, Sitting Bull. And when I was younger, I didn't really understand this quote. He said, if a person loses something and they look for it, and they go back and look for it, they will find it. And I thought, duh. But I didn't understand the wisdom of one of the greatest leaders of our people who ever lived. And recently I've begun to understand that. And I want you young people to listen to those words. If you lose something and you go back and you look for it, you will be sure to find it. And he's talking about your freedom. About your independence. And you're not going to find that battlefield for your life. And you must resist all of the power of your ancestors because they need to take the very free will. And if you listen to that river, and you listen to the streams, and you listen to that moon, I can think of you when you go this river, and you sing the song that these groves sing for us. All the people who are struggling. But that place in the middle of Denver, they hate us. The city hates us. In the middle of the city of Denver, and they can't stand it. They can't stand it. You know, they couldn't stand our unhoused relatives to have 100 feet of sidewalk to live on. Our own people, refugees in their own homeland. And the city couldn't stand that they would live on the sidewalk outside of Four Winds. And they brought the police, and they brought the SWAT team, and they brought all these people to sweep them out. A month ago. I'm not talking about 100 years ago. I'm talking about a month ago. They can't stand Indian people being free. They can't stand Native people asserting themselves in their own homeland. And those unhoused people, thanks to my niece, they're still living at Four Winds. And Mateo. And we need your help. We need you to come to Four Winds. We need you to make Four Winds the liberation zone that it's intended to be. The liberated zone that it's intended to be. Come and bring your spoken word. Come and bring your talents and your skills. Come and be free Native people. Unapologetic. Oh, for who we are. That's why we come here. We come here after they tell us we can't. And we still do it. Because this land loves us. So, Anise asked me to remind everybody that before we wrap up, we came together in a good way.
Yeah.
So we have to be thankful as we go back to our homes and go back to our families and make that commitment to one another. Shake hands with the person next to you who you didn't meet before tonight. The kids say,
Next meeting.
you're not alone.
You go me?
You're not alone. Look around. When we
Hello.
first started this
I'm
thing, we had
talking.
25
The
people.
community is known for years. So
And every year it grew more and more and more.
Hello.
So I want to ask my niece to help us to wrap this up. And I hope that we can end by singing again the American Indian Movement song. Just give it to the American Indian Movement. 1974, Gordon, Nebraska. Did the murder of Raymond Yellow Thunder. And when we sing that song, we remember all of our ancestors who gave their lives so that we can be here today. And when those honor beats are hit, we remember them. And we remember our responsibility to be them, to be the ancestors of the future generations. We always ask ourselves, if our ancestors came out from that riverbed today, would they be proud to call us their descendants? And I'm confident tonight, looking at you all, that the answer to that would be yes.
Thank you very much, Uncle. And I really wanted to ask my uncle. He doesn't really like to talk very much anymore, but it's really important because he's one of the few people left that really knows the real history of this struggle. And I was reading an article yesterday evening because I couldn't sleep because I was anxious about what was going to happen today. But a relative from Big Mountain, which is a struggle that our relative Shannon Francis and her people, the Hopi people, have been fighting against for a long time against Peabody Coal. There was a relative by the name of Benali passed away there. And one of the quotes Benali said that really resonated me about tonight was about struggle. And about the elders telling those guys at Black Mesa that they needed to take their struggle outside of the mesa. But that was the only way that struggle was going to live. Because our struggles separately will fizzle out. But our struggles together are an unstoppable force. And that's what we started here tonight. We've started that unstoppable force. But it's up to each of us to carry that responsibility forward. It's no one person's responsibility to carry this forward. It's a collective responsibility. We no longer alleviate ourselves of our responsibility. That's what decolonization is, everybody. It is taking responsibility for yourself. And it is saying, I am free to be responsible. I don't need the police to tell me what is right and wrong because I'm a free person. I'm a responsible person. Which is why we don't need the police. We don't need invader states. We don't need people to tell us how to be good relatives because we should know how to do that. Because we have elders. We have spiritual people. We have Mother Earth. She tells us how to be a good relative every day. Those are the teachings. And the last thing I would like to say before I ask the singers to sing us a thank you song to our ancestors for their sacrifice, for everything they did so we could come here this evening together in a good way, and then to sing a closing song to send them back to the ancestors back across the Milky Way. There was a quote by Moana Jackson, a Maori relative of ours. He's one of my heroes. And if you ever get the chance to look him up on YouTube, Moana Jackson, I highly recommend it. He's one of the most eloquent speakers I've ever met in my life. One of the most spiritual people I've ever met in my life. And he's battling cancer right now. And something that he said a long time ago that really resonated with me and resonates with me and what my uncle said this evening was his daughter or his granddaughter had only learned Maori. She didn't know English, so she was learning English as a second language. And so she was sitting on the couch with him one day, and she pointed to this word and asked her grandfather to help her understand what the word was. And the word that she pointed to was future. And Moana Jackson sat there for a long time. He's a lawyer. He's a brilliant thinker. And he was having a hard time trying to decide how to explain what a future is to a 6-year-old child. And I ask you all to think about that. Reflect upon that. How would you explain what a future is to a 6-year-old child? And this is what Moana Jackson said. A future is when you bring the past into your present and you carry it with you into all of your tomorrows. That's what a future is. And that's an indigenous worldview of a future, because we don't have a future without bringing our ancestors with us. We don't have a future unless we bring the present with us. We will never have a future if we don't acknowledge and understand our history. So Indigenous Peoples Day did not just come out of the ethos. It took 30 years of struggle to abolish a racist holiday. And people need to remember that history. People need to remember the names of the people who fought. We cannot forget Corky Gonzalez. We cannot forget Geraldine Gonzalez. We cannot forget Russell Means. We cannot Virgen danzantes I've known my whole life. And I've had the pleasure of praying with many of these people. I want to thank my uncle, Glenn Morris. I want to thank Pete Tinker. I want to thank Gracie Redshirt Pion. I want to thank Malete. I want to thank Prima and Abdullah and all of our Palestinian and Tigrayan relatives who joined us this evening. And just remember that we have a right to be free in our homeland, and we have a right to not feel inferior in our homeland. But it's a challenge we must take responsibly. So without further ado, I just want to say thank you to everyone who came out tonight. I really can't, none of us would have happened without everybody. And I really want to say a special shout out to my sister Hillary, who's sitting in this wheelchair right here. You know, it was really Hillary's idea that this gets started. She started pestering me a couple weeks ago and said, you know, Sky, we need to have a Four Directions march. And so it wouldn't be without people like Hillary here pestering me saying we got to keep it going. So thank you, Hillary. Thank you for encouraging me and saying we have a responsibility as Indigenous women to keep this fight going. And so thank you very much, sister. I really appreciate that. And so I'd like to ask the singers at this time to come up and honor us with a thank you song. And then after that, we'll sing a closing song, and then we'll shake hands with people if you're comfortable with that. If not, that's fine too. And then we'll start going off in a good way. If people brought cars here to take people back into the directions, identify yourselves. If we could keep all the flags back here. If you have a banner or flag that doesn't belong to you, we can stack them back there. That would be great. And again, I just really want to thank everybody again for coming out, for praying, and keep this momentum going. Come out for the Tigrayans. Come out for the Palestinians. Come out for our Chicano relatives. Come out for us when we need you to. Because Thanksgiving is coming. Thanksgiving is coming. And we want to have a national day of mourning. We want to have an event of our own to remind people that is nothing worth celebrating. Stealing and committing genocide is nothing worth celebrating. So thank you very much. Asham. Thank you for coming out.
Hey, how are you? Yes, I do. How are you doing?
Good, how are you? Glad to be here today. Thank you so much. Thank you for your words. Oh gosh, this is my relative Liliana. Hold on, this time. There you go. Oh, don't be shy now. Honest.
What happened to you? We missed.
I know. I'm gonna try to sign up for classes this spring.
Good. Whatever I can do. Yeah, whatever I can do to be helpful.
Okay. Thank you, Glenn. It's really good to see you. Hasta tomate your corn.
Yes.
Then what are you talking about? We're coming back. Don't try to do
Buddy? All right. All right, gang.
It is a bronze.
Come over to Fort Wayne. Are you?
Actually, we talked to the kids.
Yeah. Where'd you get a ball from?
If people could bring the banners up here to this table, and if anybody needs a ride, please come up to the sound of my voice.
I don't have any of it.
I have your guys'
Okay. 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 Sounds good. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Nice to meet you. Get home safe.
We might have some room. We have to put all those banners in the van, but once we get them in, people don't mind sitting maybe on top of them, because we have to go back to the side.
Is anybody going west? Do you know?
Anybody going to the west with a anybody walking back to the west? Anybody with a car going back to Viking Park?
Bye. Where's everybody? Everybody's gone? Okay. Okay. There was one lady asked me a ride. Okay, guys, gotta go. See you guys. Yeah.
You know how to do like this? Where's my sister at?
Yeah, you got two? Oh, okay, that's fine. Your name back on Traverson? Is it Carlos Spirit? Okay, good night. Good night.
That's what I have to do.
North group is headed back to the park if you want to walk in a group. North group is heading back.
The North group is heading back. Everyone, get home safely. Have a partner.
Hey man, what are you doing with this footage?
Oh, I usually archive it, edit it. I have radio station too for our community, so we just posted some of them on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just
I'll talk to Susie or someone and see what is your name.
Mine is Mike.
Mike.
Yeah, it's
From
been
Teddy.
on the radio station. They know me.
Okay.
Yeah, you talk to Melody, Brother Joe, or Susie.
Okay.
I'm really behind the scenes. So.
Sounds good. Yeah, you got some good footage.
Yeah.
We check it out.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother. Watch out. right, there you have it. We're finished. Talk to you. Everybody, good night. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching.